So getting your emotional house in order, and I've mentioned this already. So for many people, anger is, I'm just using this as an example, it's like a wild animal. If they've never been allowed to exercise any kind of control over their anger, it's like a wild animal, and it's got to be caged and pushed down and kept under tight control. And I know I had big issues with my anger. I was really scared to assert myself and stand up for myself in situations, because I was scared that if I say anything, this anger is going to suddenly erupt. And I knew, and if it erupts, it's going to be way out of proportion to the trigger, to what triggered it. So I had a knot here, tight here, tight here. And when I then really wanted to get a handle on my anger, so to answer that question, how did I do that? First of all, before I did that, I noticed that, hey, there's a lot of angry people out there, and guess who they're finding their way to? Me. So if there's a lot of jealous people in your life, or angry, or fearful, or whatever, we're the common denominator. If I was traveling and somebody jacked their seat back into my space without asking, up would come this rage, pushing into my space. So you see, the anger was way out of proportion to the trigger, but there was so much of it there. So when I started to make a really clear intention, I want to gain mastery over this, that intention was like almost like a pillar of light. And it has to be, for all of us to change, to make a significant change like this, you have to make a really strong intention. I really want to do this. Because our mind will keep tricking us. We will resist looking at this stuff. We'll keep being tricked off into other areas all the time. So that pillar of light kept me focused on, I really want to get my anger sorted out. That's the first thing to say. Almost like, in a way, it's almost like taking a lost child back, an orphan, my own orphan. So the big thing to do with all of these emotions, first of all, is to bring the observer into the arena. And I'm sure many of you have heard of Eckhart Tolle. Yeah? Eckhart Tolle gives this beautiful visual image that really went in for me in a huge way. He said that if there's anger or any chaotic emotion, and I get lost in it, I become that emotion. I become the fear, the anger, the jealousy, and I'm lost. I'm just acting out completely, just stimulus response. I'm just shooting out behavior, inappropriate behavior. But insofar as I can begin to learn to observe myself, which is not anything to do with analysing oneself, and he used the analogy of the observer is here, and the chaotic emotion is here. So I create a bit of space, a bit of breathing space. And as the observer comes up, the chaotic emotion I'm observing myself, I'm observing what's going on, the chaotic emotion has no more energy. That emotion wants us. It's almost as if it was it wants us to come into it, to get lost. Then it's feeding, it's mainlining from our energy. But for as long as I'm there observing that, it's not getting free access to my energy. And this is where I say, in order to observe, I have to create a bit of space. So, all the really obvious things, just count to 10. Go out of the room. Give yourself a bit of space. My intention is there. I really want to clean up my act. Now, And what the observer is doing is I'm observing, and I did this many, many, many times. Okay, I'm angry right now. My heart is pounding. I'm not breathing properly. I've got a lump in my throat. I want to throttle the bastard, but no, we're not, no, pull back. No, we're not going there. And just observing the sensations in the body. Simple, but not easy. Observing, okay, I've got a tension going on here. And just simply, the act of simply observing that quietens it down. It's very soothing, very, very soothing. Because basically, the other person's anger or issue, that's their problem. My problem is what I want to gain mastery of. All of these little techniques, as it were, and there's not many of them, I hasten to add, are all in these handouts that I give you at the end. So what this does then is, suddenly now I've got a choice. So instead of stimulus response, you say something to me, I get angry, I lash out at you, and then we're in a tennis match and we're lost. I've got a choice. Okay, I can either go the old familiar way, or I can do something completely different, which is take the mirror of observation and turn it back on myself. Look at yourself here. I remember doing this once in a restaurant, and I should say at this point that, you know, we all, actually, I'll bring up the next point here. Look for the trigger. Every one of us in this room, we are triggered in different ways. Some people, I'll give you an example for myself. If somebody comes and patronizes me and tells me, no, that's wrong. No, this is how it is actually. Or I'm halfway through talking about something and they cut through and don't let me get to the end of my sentence, as if I never do this myself, of course. That really presses my buttons. That gets me really mad. And that, therefore, that then is the trigger. So that then becomes my trigger. And as I become more aware of, okay, this situation is arising again, here comes the trigger, this is the sort of thing that always trips me up, I'm even more present, I'm even more clearly aware.